Sirens, Slammers, and Service, a podcast for female first responders by female first responders. My name is Nikki Clucci, and I will be your host. As a former correctional officer in Alberta for almost 2 decades and the founder of Blue Line Fitness Testing, which provides law enforcement fitness testing and first responder wellness workshops, I started this podcast as a way for female first responders to share the trials, tribulations, and triumphs of their daily work. I want to showcase the unique perspectives, skill sets, and personalities that women bring to a first responder career and share their stories. So get ready to laugh your ass off, learn a whole bunch, and be inspired by some pretty badass women. Let's go. Welcome back, guys. I am so excited for episode 2 of season 4. Today, I am joined by an absolute insanely busy woman, Megan Scaife. Megan is a paid on-call lieutenant for Yellowhead County Fire Department. She's been with them for 7.5 years and just graduated this year with a diploma in disaster and emergency management from NATE. On top of that, she's also a training officer with Yellowhead County and a member of the North Central Region All Hazards Management Team. Oh, and guys, she also works full time in the oil and gas industry as a facility operator. So if you thought I was busy, meet Nikki 2.0. Megan is just as busy. So welcome, Megan. I'm so pumped to have you here. How are you today?
I'm good. Thanks, Nikki, for having me. I'm very excited to be here, chit chat about all the busyness in my life.
Yes, yes, I know. So we were actually introduced via a mutual friend, Marissa, through Alberta Sheriffs, and she had said to me months ago, "You need to get Megan on the show. You need to talk to her. Like this girl's got stories, and she's again like just has does all these different things, plays all these different roles, and would be an awesome guest." And so we'd set it up. And then, Alberta lit on fire, and we were had to reschedule, I think, 3 or 4 times because every single time it calmed down and I was like, yes, we can do this. Another fire lit in your district. And it was like, okay, never mind. So here we are months later, but we're here. We're ready to rock. So, Megan, I want you just to break it down for me. How did you get into this? How do you wear so many different hats? And what kind of drew you to this career?
Yeah, so I got into firefighting when I was young. I was, I think, 19 when I actually joined the department, and it was kind of out of the blue. I was looking around for jobs and figuring out what I want to do, and I decided that I wasn't going to go to school right away, but I wanted to kind of figure out what I was interested in before I did the schooling. And so I was looking at jobs, and there was this support. We call it an SOG now, but it's a support operations. So in Yellowhead County, we have members that are fire, but we also have members that just do more of the incident support specialists. So they come out and they make sure you're rehabbing, they make sure you got the water and like everything you need, your air bottles. Like they make sure that the incidents are taken care of, that firefighters are taken care of, and all that good stuff. And so I was looking at that and I said, "Oh, I don't think I could do that fire thing, but like I could do that. I could help firefighters do their job." Um, and so when I finally applied for it, it took me a few months. Like I kind of hummed and hawed, like, should I do this? Is it really me? But I finally decided I'm going to apply on it, see what happens. And even if I don't like it, I don't have to stick with it. Fast forward a few months, I finally get on, start going through a recruit class, and they decided that even for support members, they wanted everybody to do the recruit course. So I get going into it, and we're about, I would say, 2 of the 5 weekends total. And I fell in love with it. I realized that I wasn't out of the ordinary to not be able to do it. I'm not, I've always been, physically active. I've always done sports all my life. And I realized that I wasn't that far off from anybody else because I had the desire to help. And realistically, when it comes to paid on call land, I mean, that's first responders in general is you want to help, you want to make a difference, you believe that just even a small little ounce of impact in somebody else's life and their bad days is worthwhile. And you don't get that all the time. That's not what the job is, but it's pretty incredible when you do get that. And so I just realized that that's what I wanted to do is I wanted to help and I wanted to try and do whatever I could to be a part of that. So I worked my butt off. I got used to the gear. I fought through the uncomfortable face mask and got used to breathing under air. Kind of worked through some like claustrophobia with that, which took me a little bit. And at the time, I had an amazing training officer that helped me through all of it. I walked out the other side, graduated, couldn't believe that I had finished the recruit and was like joining a fire department. I was becoming a fire member, and I was going to be a firefighter, and I knew how to do this stuff. And my he was my fiance at the time. He supported me. Well, actually, sorry, he's my boyfriend at the time, but he supported me all the way through and got really excited about it and ended up joining about 6 months later. So now my now husband, we do this together, and we've been doing it for over 7 years together, and it's incredible. I would say that's one of the coolest things to be able to do with a job like this with your husband. But yeah, so that was our kind of my starting point into paid on call firefighter. After a few years, I got promoted. We have a younger hall, and just kind of rose into that to next level rank. And kind of at the same time, I realized that there was schooling that I could do related to the position, and I didn't really want to do fire school. Working through my certifications as a paid on call, but I decided not to do like fire school. Medical's not really my jam. I'll help you, I'll thump on that chest, but overall, I don't want to figure out what's going on with you in medical land. So I avoided that. And I really liked the overall um, scene management and kind of like that preparedness piece, the education for kids, the making sure your community gets prepared and what they can do at home and how they can impact their ability to cope with disasters and all that kind of stuff. And I didn't really know what that looked like in terms of an education, so I started digging. And I remember I was at work one day, and I work out in the bush. I'm alone out in the bush. And I just had one day where I was sitting and I was looking through programs at Nate, and I'm like, oh, I wonder if I could do this, and looking through all of the related emergency stuff. And I found the emergency management course. I applied, I got accepted the same day, and started school the next day. And I got married later that week. I had no idea what I just signed up for. I was like,
Jesus.
I don't know what the heck I just did, but yeah, I'm getting a phone call from Nate, and they asked me to like pay for my tuition, and I just pay it out in the middle of the bush, and I'm like, oh, okay, cool. Like, I guess, I guess we're doing this. And then I go get married. Next week, I finally log on to school and realize I've already missed the first week of school because I didn't pay no attention to it. I had no idea that it was like a structured week to week. I'd only ever done self-learning where it's, self-paced learning. So I was like, what do you mean I have assignments every week and I'm already behind? And I'm like, oh my God.
You're like, wait a minute here.
Yeah. So like I'm like, oh geez, off to a great start. And so even then I really didn't know what I was getting into. I figured, well, I'll sign up for this one course and I'll see. I'll see what if I like it, then cool. If I don't like it, then whatever. 5 years later, at a very self-led pace to take all the course. It took me longer than it's actually only a 2-year program, but I spread it out while working full time so that I didn't take any time off from work, which is a lot.
Yeah.
But yeah, ultimately it's exactly what I want to be doing, and the fires this year kind of cemented that into my head. That's exactly what I want to be doing. And yeah, and joining paid on call to be a firefighter, which I never intended to even be, led me to my education, which led me here, and I finally feel like I know what direction I want. And I feel pretty grateful for that, 'cause I feel like a lot of people hop right into school and they don't get that so much. So I feel pretty grateful that I somehow managed to piece stuff together and figure it out all these years later, from just kind of whim of feeling like I could do something to help people.
I love it. You know what? It's so funny because I've interviewed lots of people for the show, and there's two camps. You either are like, this is your journey, like so that was me from 7. I was going to be a police officer. This was what I was going to do. Exactly like you said. Under that same, I wanted to help people. I wanted to make a difference. I wanted, like, and
Mhm.
so there's that camp, and then the other half of the people that I've interviewed are like, I don't know, I just randomly ended up here. Like I
Yeah.
just kind of like fell into it. Somebody told me I should do it. So I was like, okay, sure, I'll apply. And then exactly like you're saying, like bada bing, bada boom. Now you're in the training academy and you're looking around going, holy shit, how did this happen? Like, I was just Googling something. How did this
Yeah,
happen? Right.
that's
So
exactly it.
that's awesome. That's all. And I mean, I love like I love how you just kind of organically fell into it. So because I was unaware that there was even the support officer position. So that's super cool to know about. And I mean, for numerous reasons. A, if you're, like you kind of wanted to dip your toe into that, little ocean of this could be something for you. That's a great way to get into it. But I think the other thing that I really love is the fact that that's even thought of, that there is somebody there for these officers, that it's not just left up to the firefighters
Hmm.
that are trying to also fight the fire to, like, hey, remember, check your bottles, hey, have you drank any water, have
Hmm.
you had a break, have you eaten, like, because you could be at those fires for hours and hours, right? And
Oh
so,
yeah.
and especially coming in as paid on call, you're coming in potentially not having prepared to say, like, if you're a full-time firefighter, you're going to work, that there's a potential that there's probably going to be a fire called out or an
Hmm.
emergency or something, right? When you're coming in paid on call, who knows? Maybe the last time you ate was like 9 hours ago because you've had a busy day and you've been working. And then, like, oh, let's go fight this fire for the next 14 hours. I hope I eat, right? So yeah,
Yeah.
I really think that's super cool. Um, so can you take me back? So you said it was on like one or two of the weekends, into your training, that this, you kind of had this realization, like, I think I can do this. So how does that training work? Like, what is the, like, to get into paid on call fire? What is the application process like? What's the, like, how long does it take? What's the training look like?
Yeah, so there's definitely a little bit of flex with that. Like it's definitely dependent on which department you're going to, but overall for Yellowhead County, we have a pretty good model that they've developed, and I know that there's a lot of departments now that are looking into the model that Yellowhead County uses. They have done a lot of like growing in a very short amount of time, and they've got to the point where we actually do have full-time staffing as well as our paid on call, which helps a lot in the daytime. It's not 24/7, so it's a little bit different, but on the paid on call side, from when I did it, I think it was 5 weekends total. Now I believe we're still 5 weekends. And it's a little bit different, but you start off basically with getting an application, sending it into Yellowhead County, right into their admin building. It gets reviewed. You go through an interview process, and if you get selected or not, then you go through a physical part. So they just run you through a basic course with firefighter maneuvers. You put your gear on, you got to climb a ladder and you got to hold a tool and stretch a hose line, like just kind of basic, but to give you an idea of what it's going to be like to be in gear and doing that physical side. And then from there, if you get accepted through all of that, you pass everything, you're still interested. We set you up into the recruit course. So it's just weekends to make it easier. There are kind of some flexibilities with that. If you miss some weekends, we can bring you in at different times of the day, usually with our full times, to get you in to do some of that learning if we can accommodate that. And so you go through your 5 weekends. They teach you everything from how to put the gear on, how to work in a mask, a little bit of fire operations, so basic exterior usually. It's what we aim for, maneuvering hand lines, spraying water, positioning lines, how to hold and support each other on the line. Then it goes into vehicle extrication. You tear a whole car apart. You learn a lot of the basic maneuvers for an operations level, kind of for vehicle rescue. And those are the big components. We talk a little bit about medical, talk a little bit about wildland. It's kind of an all-rounded, get you enough information so that once you come out of the recruit course, you have a good footing, and then you kind of go right back into your halls. So we cover a really large area in Yellowhead County. We have 7 stations. 2 of them are located within towns. So the towns are their own thing, but they are part of our area. And then we have station training nights throughout the week. So from Monday to Thursday, across the county, everyone's kind of a different night. So for my station, it's on Thursday nights, 7 to 9, and that becomes your regular training. So we do at least 3 weeks out of the month that we have a training scheduled for, and you kind of hop right into that as we get you caught up on, what we're learning at that time, what we're working on with our firefighters, and just transition you into what we're already been working on. And having that foundation skills makes it a really easy transition because you're already usually exposed to most of the stuff that we're building on throughout the year. And it kind of varies. Our captain of training does a really, really good job of organizing what we do and how we move throughout the year and kind of cover all those topics off and still build on the skills and then advance some of those skills into weekend trainings here and there when we need a bit more in-depth time to work on those skills. So overall, that is the process. It seems really easy and laid out when I say that, but it feels like it takes quite a bit to get through it. It's a lot of commitment, and the weekends are definitely a lot of work. It's a lot of exposure, a lot of new things. If you've never been through it before, the SCBAs and the gear is a lot to get used to. But once you start working into it, you get a lot of time and movement with it, and you don't think twice usually by the time you get to the end of your 5 weekends, which is pretty incredible because it doesn't seem like a very long time to get used to all of the fire stuff, but it gives you a good overview and you get set up on the right foot.
Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Hey guys, wanted to pop on here before we got into this next episode and let you know about a couple new rad ideas that we have for the podcast. So the first one is we have a survey up, and I would love to know what you guys think about the show. I'd love your feedback. I'd love your ideas for the next season, and I'd just love to know what you like and what you dislike about the podcast. And I'm going to sweeten the deal with a $50 gift card randomly drawn from everybody that completes the survey. The survey is going to be in the show notes of all of our shows, so no matter what time you start listening to the podcast at, you'll get a chance to win that gift certificate. The second thing that we're bringing in now is the ability for you guys to leave us a voicemail. You guys can actually call into the show, leave us a voicemail, let us know what you think about the show. If you have a funny story you'd like to share from your time as a first responder, I would love those and showcase those on the show as well. So make sure you guys check out that voicemail feature. It's going to be in the show notes, and check out the survey. Make sure you get that chance to win that gift certificate. I was gonna say, holy smokes, that is like, could you jam more stuff in? Like, even as you were talking, I'm like, oh my God, and then we're doing this, and then we're doing this, and we're doing this. And like, now we're busting a car open. Like, to me, I'm like, busting a car open would be a whole weekend. Like, how do we get into this baby? How do we not blow ourselves up? Right? Like, so
Yeah.
that's phenomenal. Like, and 5 weekends. I mean, and I think the other part of that though is too, like, I know you kind of said it can be different based on which area you're applying for, but I think that by getting in like that, getting really intensive, it's a great way to just kind of drill that stuff into you because you are just living and breathing it for that weekend.
Mm-hmm.
And it builds that camaraderie with the crew that you're working with, right? If you're there sweating it out all day for Saturday and Sunday and Friday nights, and everybody's leaving on Sunday being like exhausted and their minds just absolutely exploding with knowledge.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that really builds that kind of troop mentality, that shift mentality. Like, we're shifts, fire's troops. Police is usually shift or platoon, right? So
Mm-hmm.
that kind of mentality where you're going to be working with those people. And because
Absolutely.
because you're working in such an intensive environment, and again, under such, I think, say, time constraint, not necessarily, but like you're jamming it all in.
Yeah.
It's that, okay, I know that this person's strengths are this. I know that this person's weaknesses are this. I know that my strengths are this. So I know that I can assist in this way because I know that this person struggles with this, but I'm really good at it. So I'm going to step in and be the lead on, say, that thing, or the lead on, or the follower, because I'm not that strong, but this person is, but I'm really good at holding the back end of the hose, not the front end of the hose.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So,
Absolutely. I think that's the coolest part about paid on calls. Like, that's why I love being a training officer when you go in and you get to meet all walks of life that come in. I mean, we got every background, and I know a lot of positions get this, but fire seems, I think, to be a specialty because you get a little bit of working background, but a little bit education background, a little bit of strengths and a little bit of weaknesses, but the way that people figure out how to work together to support each other, even by the end of 5 weekends, you already start to see natural leadership skills and all that team building exercises happens just within that group. And it's nice when you're supported as a training officer. You're not the only one there. There's a couple of us, and we already have that good team environment as training officers. But getting to see that built and the camaraderie, and so they rely on each other, because there's an online component that you have to kind of keep up with too during the weeks, as they want you to review a lot of the videos, so that when you get into the weekends you get to do a lot more skill based. It's not so much of just the textbook, oh, let's look at PowerPoints. There's some recap, and then you get right into the hands-on, because you're trying to go through a lot of stuff. But they start to support each other, and they start to, oh, well, what'd you get on this, and oh, how did you figure out this? And it's it's nice as adults, because you watch kids, and kids develop so cool, like so quickly with each other, and they figure all that piecework together. And adults sometimes, I think, forget to learn in that fashion. And so when they start to actually force themselves back into a learning pattern, and I mean, some people, they didn't go secondary, or they didn't even enjoy high school, and now they're back into a learning component. So you get to see how adults figure out the learning side again and get back into that rhythm and support each other. It's, yeah, that's one of my favorite things to watch is the groups that come in and become like a little family by the end of it, and they go through their whole recruit weekend, and then we do a little celebration and graduation at the end to really, like, we're proud of you. We're really excited that you're on the department, and you're probably, a lot of them don't end up in the same hall, but it stays that they keep that kind of throughout it, because you'll notice on calls when we start to get mixed in with other stations across the county, because we support each other. When they meet up with each other on scenes, they go right back into that pattern of, oh, I know this person can do this, and I can support them in this way, or they can support me in this way, and they go back right into a team environment. So it really helps when we have to meet with our other stations, because they already have that understanding of how to work together. We don't have to teach that, and that's what we need when we're so far apart, but have to work with each other. We have to figure out how to work with each other, and the recruit course builds that in. So that's a cool part.
Yes, I love it. And you touched on two things there, like, so the adult learning model. I think, like you said, when you compare it to how kids learn, there's not that with kids, because I do a lot of coaching with kids and stuff like that. There's not a lot of that, like, oh, I'm worried about looking dumb, or be, like, I'm worried about being the bad one. Kids just dive into it. They're like, whatever, I suck at this, coach. I am not. I've had kids come to me like, Coach Nikki, I am not good at this, and I'm like, well, yeah, you're right, bud, but well, we're just going to keep trying. And the more we try, the better we're going to get. Right. And then when they nail it, that excitement. Right. But adults, we've grown into this, we have to be the best, or we don't want to be the dumb one in class, or we don't want to be, we're too cool for school, right? Like, I mean, the amount of trainings that I led for adult correctional officers, where you have like the dickheads in the back that are just too cool for school, and you're like, hey, loser, we all have to learn this. Put your feet down and fucking listen up, right? Like, and it's just agony. And then you also get those ones, like you said, that like haven't been to school. If you're trying to, for me, when I was trying to train officers that were moving over from our old jail to the new jail on this entirely different supervision model, and these guys haven't been to training in 20 years. They haven't done any formal learning, right? And you're like, oh, good God, let's break down how we do this, right? Computer systems, new walkie-talkies. Like, it was just, I'm like, oh my Lord. So yeah, that teaching adult learners is a whole different thing. And how, like you said, how they interact, and how they don't want to look like they're stupid, and they don't want to be the one that doesn't understand, or they have no idea. They have no idea, because you can see it in their face, but they don't want to raise their hand, right? And you're like, oh, okay. So I really like that you kind of touched on that. And I'm with you on the, when you see them succeed, and when you see them come together, they're, as a training officer or training sergeant, like, that is probably, like, that's why you become it, right? That's why you move into that, is because you want to see that. You want to see the light bulb click and them go, oh, I get it now, right? Or that sense of, like, yeah, I haven't been to school in 20 years and holy shit, you can teach this old dog new tricks and look at me and I passed and I'm really proud of myself, right? So
Hmm.
that's phenomenal. So kind of leaning into that. So what led you to go from being just a frontline, like, yeah, I wasn't going to do it. Now I'm in it to now I'm going to be training other people.
Yeah, well, see, that's the cool part about I always call it pay on call land, but that's the cool part about paid on call land is that I get to keep with both, because it's really just a mix. We don't have people to spare to just do like one job, so you still get to do it all. So even being a lieutenant, there's a lot of times I end up in the back seat, even though traditionally you would end up in the front seat, right? You're the officer of the truck. So I get to do all that stuff. You know, if somebody else shows up, my husband, he's also lieutenant. Just it's a fun story between the two of us, but because he's also lieutenant, we just take turns kind of be in the front seat, so we get to hustle into the back and let our other and work alongside of other members, and you just kind of mismatch across the county. Whoever's in charge, whoever's got that hat, they're wearing that hat, and you go and you just keep doing the fire thing. So I like that I get to maintain that. I'm still an active firefighter and very much, all calls, training and all that. I just, because I wear the lieutenant hat, I get to also be a training officer for like our station trainings on our Thursday nights, our weekly nights. It's usually led by our station officers. So myself, my husband, we have a chief. We're hopefully getting a few new officers to help out too with the more recruits coming in. So with that piece kind of all just mixes in, and then when we get into the recruit weekends, it's kind of all hands on deck. Who do we have available to come support these recruits? Because we like right now we have big class coming in, like we have like 16 or 17 people coming in, so we need quite a few training officers to do that. So we just bring in senior members, lieutenants, captains, whoever's available to come in and teach, because that's what we got. Those are the people that we got to try and keep the stations going and keep the training going and keep bringing members in and keep teaching them stuff. So I learn just as much as they learn. I'm always learning. I'm always doing more courses. I'm very lucky that way that the county is well funded, so we get the opportunity to do quite a few training courses and continually learn. So I always say to my firefighters, like I'm learning just the same as you are. When we go to a course together, like I'm not a training officer at that point. I'm not a lieutenant. I'm just a firefighter here to learn, just like you. So it was just kind of thrown into the mix with that title. Just, oh, you're a lieutenant, so it's kind of an expectation that you become into the training officer. And I just love that part too. Like that's part of my education is that part. So it was a natural transition for me, and I feel very fortunate that I got to transition. Um, and I'm trying to do some more like leadership courses online so that I can also develop that part, not just on the fire side, but also just the personnel side. I think that's an important leadership component. If you're going to be a training officer, you need to understand how to be a leader, and you need to keep working on your own education so that you can keep supporting those as they learn firsthand.
Yes, yes. I love it. You're just throwing down truth bombs. It's amazing. It's amazing. Okay, so walk me through now, and I want to touch on, so you're also a member of the North Central Region All Hazards Management Team. So what does that entail?
Yeah, so the incident management team, I call them IMTs. So IMTs, they are kind of the people that come in when a big scale incidents are happening. They run usually an incident command post or an emergency coordination center or an emergency operations center, ECC or EOC. But they focus on supporting the incident needs, kind of the organization piece for how do we organize all of our boots on the ground, whether this is fire, floods, like the whole idea is all hazards. So no matter what the event is, you have a water main break in town, you need to evacuate your town. These IMTs can still function in that. They come in to support the operations center and whatever they're going, whether that means they're coming in to take on all the kind of higher roles to support the incident, or they're coming in at a lower level to support the local municipality or agency or whatever it may be. And this goes into the emergency management background for sure. You typically have a lot of your senior level fire staff, police. They're kind of all walks of life. For municipalities, it's usually like your DEM, so your directors of emergency management and those kind of roles. They're general managers, protective services. Those kind of roles usually hold those positions in an incident management team. I was very lucky that because of my background, because of my education, and because I'm really well supported by Yellowhead County, they invited me to come do the training with them for the incident management team. So I was the only paid on call that came with the team of just our headquarters staff that went to do the training. So my captains, my chiefs, they all go to this, and they're all part of the incident management team. And then I'm the only paid on call from Yellowhead that got invited to do that, which I felt super, super lucky for. Not everybody's interested in that stuff, but obviously it's my wheelhouse. So I was very fortunate that they let me tag along and get to be a part of that team. And now I've worked with a bunch of them for all the fires this year, and I feel very much better on being on the team because I realize that it's something I can do, and it's not just you don't need to have like the 30 years. You just need to start getting into it and start doing the um, education and the pieces that go along with that. So it's it's a kind of totally separate, I would say, from the fire department. It's more of the overall scene management. We need to set up lodging, and we need to start pre-planning for evacs, and we need to organize all of our boots on the ground, and we need to make decisions about what kind of money we got coming in. That's an incident management team. They're looking at that higher level overview of what needs to be happening on a scene, not just the day-to-day boots on the ground. They don't have a say on the day-to-day boots on the ground. It's quite separate in that fashion. There's people with very, very overloaded roles, very big roles that focus on making sure people are safe and that the incident gets taken care of in an appropriate manner and to an appropriate way. So that's what an incident management team is, and I guess in a short form way, as short as I can go. um, uh, yeah, hopefully I answered that question.
Yeah, no, you totally did. You totally did. That's a great because like I kind of figured that, but then the question that I have when you're saying like floods and stuff. So as a paid on call firefighter, can you be called out to assist more with like disaster management, not necessarily just fire based? Because I know you guys go to like motor vehicle crashes sometimes if you need to, or medical emergencies where you need extra hands, but can you guys be called upon for like disaster management?
Yeah, so those of us that are a part of this regional team, so there's multiple regional teams across Alberta. It's actually one of the coolest things about Alberta is that we have these regional teams, and the idea is that a lot of municipal governments, whether it's a smaller area or a smaller muni or whatever it may be, they might not have the capacity to staff all of these roles. So the idea is that these teams can come in and support what the municipality needs, even if they can't do it themselves. So it's kind of like a backup measure. It's a preparedness measure. Like it's a pre-planning to make sure that municipalities have the ability to manage, because ultimately it's not if they're going to happen, it's when is the emergency going to hit your area. And for Yellowhead County, we've been very fortunate. We've had smaller incidents where you can kind of wrap up in a few days or maybe even a week where we've had activations. But then fast forward to this year, we jumped into a 63-day activation, which was
Mm.
astronomical. I mean, we broke records around Alberta, around Canada, because we had so much fire happening in a very small area. But yeah, so this team can come in and be deployed pretty much anywhere. They can go support up north. We had a lot of our members, so we're they're split by region, so we're shared into the Strathcona County. So when we had our incident blow up here, we actually got members from our own incident management team to come in from Strathcona County and support Yellowhead County, because we didn't have the capacity either. We're still in very much a training, we're trying to get there, but it takes a lot of time to develop people to know these kind of roles and this capacity. So it takes it takes kind of some pressure off the municipality by having these teams to be able to come in and kind of jump right in. So yes, because I'm part of the team, I'm on deployment availability. So if something strikes in another area, so like Parkland County, they utilize the teams kind of throughout Alberta. The Fox Creek, when they had their fire, I think it was Fox Creek, kind of just to the other side of Whitecourt there. When they had their fire blow up at the same time, the team was deployed over there. So yeah, it's whenever we're available, we have deployment availability online. They will say, oh, we got a request in from so and so. We're looking for team members available to fill these roles. And then you just apply and say, yeah, I'm available. And I have to get permission from the county, like all of us would have to be approved from our agency to be able to go and deploy into another area, just because it takes away from our own capacity at the same time. But even with that being said, we had one member of the IMT. He came to work within Yellowhead County as an IMT, and then Drayton Valley Fire started, and he had to return and go deal with his own incidents because he was a fire member for Drayton Valley. So he actually went back and started doing a role for his own fire back there. So you kind of bounce all around with the team, but it definitely helped. Like it made a huge difference when they came in. I was one person filling a role that they came in with 4 people to change me out at that time. So that's the importance of the teams, that they fill the capacity that we don't have and that lots of municipalities don't have. And, they might be able to handle those smaller incidents, but this is really prepping for those big ones that nobody knows when they're going to happen. Yeah, we can be deployed out kind of whenever. Right now, obviously, everyone's still on a little bit of a red alert. Let's just make sure we're okay here. Everyone's still exhausted and kind of rebounding from everything. But moving forward, I know that there's more opportunities to come. I've yet to be deployed with the team, but I got to work with a bunch of them when they were here working for us in that manner. But yeah, so it's a very cool program. Strathcona is our leader for our area, and they do a really, really good job at communicating and getting us what we need. And we have, go bags and deployments, and they have tons of kits and tools, and you go there and prepare for no power or no services or whatever it is, whatever you're going to, because you're going to an emergency, right? There might not be all the firsthand needs, so they structure it really well to get us training throughout the year and everything, keep us up on our know-how. And we're supported really, really well by AMA, the Alberta Emergency Management Agency. They do all the training and they make sure that our teams across the province get the support. And it also takes a load off them because there's only so many field officers, right? There's only so much that the AMA and the PEC, I think it is, the Provincial Emergency Center, Coordination Center, there's only so much that they can offer. They also only have so much staffing, right, to come in. They can't just come in and take over. So this takes a lot of pressure off them by having more people available. And there's tons of experience out there. There's tons of brilliant people that have been doing this 10, 20, 30, 40 years that have the know-how to help out with these emergencies. And now we get to utilize some of that knowledge across the province and share that into other municipalities and share what works and what doesn't work and learn from it so that eventually we're all working at a higher capacity. We're all working at a higher level of being able to service our communities and keep people safer. And you can't lessen the impacts of an emergency, fire, floods. I can't affect where the water's going to go, but I can make sure that people know how to be prepared and how to be safer. And when we can share all that easier through the incident management teams, it makes a huge difference. So it's, I would say, in the development still, but it's becoming a very, very useful tool that we have in Alberta.
That's awesome. And I think like you're saying, like just with the amount of fires that we had this summer and the rapidly changing climate of, just it's here, it's there, we need to evacuate, we need to we need to keep people informed. And then on top of that, the misinformation that can be spread via social media, via panicked people, by people that feel like, their personal concerns. And I mean, it is understandable, right? It's your property, it's your animals, it's your, your land, your livelihood, again, for farmers, if they're seeing their crops burned down, right? Where they feel like not enough is being done, but that can also lead again to that misinformation, and that people, social media is great for a lot of things, but it also gives anybody a voice and a platform to say whatever they want, right? And so
Yes.
I like that there's a formalized process essentially for notification and for, tracking and trying to organize in an absolutely chaotic environment, like you said, where there could be no power or water or cell service or, services, right? So
Mm-hmm.
that's really awesome. So I want to kind of transition. So tell me, walk me through what happens just as a regular, and I'm going to ask you to put yourself in the position of like as an on-call firefighter, not necessarily in your lieutenant role, but what happens, like something happens and you guys get called out. What's the call out process look like? What does it look like when you guys go to a call, and what are some of the like duties or responsibilities that you guys are tasked with when you get there?
Yeah, so it definitely varies on the call. And I mean, sometimes you get a lot of people showing up, and sometimes you don't get very many people showing up. That's something we're struggling with right now. It's kind of the rebound effects of everyone being so burnt out. So that's the hard part with volunteers, that you don't really know what you're getting. But we have pagers, so we have voice pagers. We're again lucky in the county that we have a really nice digital system. So we have voice pagers that come over, and our 911 center talks directly to us across the pager, saying kind of what we're going to. So they do a pre-alert is our first notification. Um, it just comes across as like a little tone or a vibration on the page or whatever you set up for, enough to wake you up in the middle of the night for sure. And from there, usually a few minutes, within a minute, because they send that out as soon as they get the call into dispatch, and so they decide, oh, this determinant means that they need help. They send out a pre-alert for the station area, whatever that may be, whether it's 3 stations, 2 stations, or 1 station. Again, based on the determinant out of dispatch. But they say, okay, your pre-alert for an MVC, and that's all we get at first. And then that's your go. You start getting dressed, you start doing whatever, you start packing up your stuff. For me, it's put the dogs in their kennels so that I can get going. They've figured it out. The tone, they know what it means. They know where it's go time.
Yeah.
So then we also have our phones have it's called I Am Responding. It's just an application on your phone, and again, it's the same thing. Dispatch sends out message that comes across for that, and it gives a brief overview and your location. So if you're a dispatcher, the determinant codes, and you can figure out kind of what the questions that they went through. But for us, there's a bunch of letter numbers. They give us our districts on what stations are being paged out, who else. So whether it's gas, power, if it's a structure fire, or we got police, medics, like that kind of stuff. It lets us know who else is being dispatched to the same call. And then it'll come across the pager again, and it'll say usually a little bit more details, and also recap the location. So, an MVC located on Highway 16 eastbound and Range Road 152. It'll just give that, and it may say, MVC versus deer, 2-vehicle MVC with injuries. It's a brief overview to give you an idea of what you're going to, so that you kind of know what trucks need to be rolling out. So if you're going to a structure fire, you're bringing a tanker, but if you're going to an MVC, you're probably bringing the rescue, right? So it gives you just an idea of when you're going to the hall, what you should be thinking about for gear, and what kind of people you might need as well. So if you're only getting 4 people to the station, well, maybe we need to be paging on another station to support it, because we need some more members coming. So once you get to the hall from there, for us, it's basically load up on the trucks. Usually it's a senior member or an officer that kind of dictates who's going where, who's driving, or what we need to do for that staffing requirement. If it's something that's a little bit out there, we also have a duty officer. So the duty officer may have input on what trucks we're bringing and what kind of staffing they want, and whether it means we're sending one truck out and then we're holding another truck at hall for standby. They get to make those kind of decisions and work with us on what we have the capacity to do, and so what they might want for us for a response. And that's a really, really nice piece on the paid on call side, because we're not experts, but our duty officers are our full-time people, so they have usually that more well-rounded, they get to do it a lot more frequently than we do. So it's nice to have that support. They also have a pickup, so they get there a heck of a lot faster than us, and they can kind of decide if, okay, do we need more resources than what we already have coming? So we get input from that. and kind of go from there. So it's a nice system. We got a good system that works. The pagers, there's always issues with the electronic side, and sometimes we don't have pagers that are working, and sometimes we don't have an app that's working, and we have to kind of have both. Most times I don't carry like if I'm at work, I don't carry my pager, right? But I can see them when they come across on my phone. So just the other day, like I work out literally in no man's land. I'm an hour from civilization in the bush, and my phone will go off and it's a call just down the road from where I am. So it's a really long drive in a fire truck. Like
Yeah.
it's all back roads. It's not paved. So it's pretty terrible bouncing down in a fire
Yeah.
truck with not much for suspension and a lot of weight.
Yeah.
So it's nice when I could go and help out. So I got to go to the call and figure out kind of what they needed, and they ended up not needing any of our resources, but they had a medical emergency that they dealt with and was already, had those people taken care of, but they didn't stand down fire resources. So we still had fire trucks rolling to a pretty serious call that ended up not being a serious call, and we didn't need fire trucks. So it's nice when you have the first person there to kind of be like, whoa, or like get the cavalry rolling, we need more, get the police going, get the medics going, like we need more,
Yeah.
um that kind of helps out with that, because the ambulance may be there and it may be an hour later. It's a rural medical. You really never know when you're going to get it. You never know if you're going to get police right away. They can be preoccupied with a lot of stuff going on in their world, so you kind of are prepared for anything.
Yeah.
Kind of.
Yeah. Just like roll up, like I have my skill set in my tool belt and I'm ready to go. Like
Yeah,
hit me with what I can see.
yeah,
So
that's exactly
so
it.
when you get there, like what are some of the things that you could be tasked with? Like I know you've kind of talked about the call out and like how you guys are notified, stuff like that, but you get there and it's like, okay, you have a medical emergency. Can you guys, like I'm assuming, obviously with your training, you're first on scene, you guys are starting first aid, you're doing CPR, you guys are, you've got all the stuff with you, so you're doing like hooking up the AEDs and things like that. Is there other duties or responsibilities that would fall to, if you're only needing 2 or 3 guys and you've got say 4 or 5 there,
Yeah,
what else
so
can they be responsible for?
there's a lot of positions like on the truck, and even if we're not using, like even if we're not that busy, there's still roles that need to be happening. So the biggest thing is when we're on the highway, our safety is a big component. So we have to have traffic cones, and so our driver gets tasked usually with traffic management, so making sure that we're safe on the highway, that cars are being detoured around us, that we have safe zones, that and those protect us. We've proven that because we've had our trucks hit on the highway, and we've almost had people, like our members, get hurt pretty seriously. So it makes a huge difference. So that's usually their first thing, is making sure we got the scene safety, especially on a highway, which we work a lot of because we got Highway 16 right through our whole entire area. So we get a lot of that. And then if you're looking at like a fire scene, it looks a little bit different. They are your pump operators, so they're engaging all the pumps and getting everything working, so that when the people in the back are pulling out the lines, they're getting the pump and the water going so that they can start hitting you with water the minute that they need it. So it looks different depending on what kind of call you're going on to. And that's the same with the firefighters. If you're going to a vehicle accident, they're pulling off equipment to go do, battery disconnects or vehicle extrication, or patient management, pulling off the first aid kits. And then when they're going to a fire, the first thing is usually you're pulling hose and you're grabbing your tools for that. And so it kind of varies on what you're going to. You kind of get into a repetition of the right tools for the right job. So pulling off your basic set of tools. And then the big thing for an officer in the front seat is usually a scene size up to start. So you're getting there no matter what you're going to. People that are incoming also need to know what they're coming into, and you need to have an idea of what kind of resources you may need to continue ordering or standing down from there. So that's a really important part, is you get there, give us an overview. What are you looking at? Like, give us a picture of what we're looking at. So is it whether it's a fire, a vehicle, or where they are they upside down? Is the patient stuck? Is the patient flung out? Is whatever it may be, give a recap so that everyone else can get an idea going in. And then the safety component comes into it. Do a good scene. safety size up. So going around, seeing what's going on, what hazards, did they hit a line, like a power line? Is that down? Is that now affecting our ability to do our job? So that's kind of your starting point is let's look at what we got. Let's make sure it's safe for us to do our job. And then we can move in and everyone can take on their roles and grab their equipment and move into it. So we definitely try to fit in a lot of that well-rounded level of service, and that means that we kind of bounce around and you start to figure out what needs to be pulled here, what needs to be pulled there, and what becomes a little non-essential and what becomes our priorities. And it takes time, but that's the cool thing about paid on calls. You get a lot of exposure to a lot of different stuff.
Yeah, for sure. Like that, as you're saying that, I'm thinking, oh yeah, and then I didn't even think about traffic control and scene management and things like that. So yeah, that's lots of different things. And again, I think like you're saying, as you move through the different like your levels of experience and what you're comfortable with or what you're better at, then that also kind of will probably play into that as well. Like I'm really good at this, or this is something that I suck at, so I'm going to trade it out with somebody else and go do something else maybe that needs to get done, right? So
yeah, absolutely.
that teamwork aspect for sure. Awesome. Okay, well, I've taken up a ton of your time this afternoon, and I know you're not feeling amazing today. You're battling a cold, so I don't want to take up more. So I think I'm going to wrap it up, but I just want to wrap up with a couple really kind of quick rapid fire questions. I ask all my guests this just for funsies and just to keep you on your toes. So this one will be fun because I don't know what you would do because you don't have readily accessible access to food. But what is your favorite food or snack while you are on call? Or is there something that when you said when the tones dropped that you were like, yoink, jam that in my pants and like, let's go, I gotta have this in my backpack? So what would that be?
Yeah, well, I will say that I've had some funky long incidents, and I remember one time we had a fire and we ended up sleeping in the fire hall overnight, and the only thing that they had available for us were Mr. Noodles. And it's now become my thing is that whenever there's Mr. Noodles or like a KD cup, I love it. I love it. I absolutely love it. That's that's my
You're like,
go-to is that we have a support trailer that is stocked with KD cups and Mr. Noodles. And yeah, long-term incidents, that's what I'm snacking on. That's what I'm getting.
that's awesome. It's so funny. My middle daughter, she's 10. She just discovered like Mr. Noodles or like ramen or whatever. I call them Ichiban. And she is addicted. Like she comes home every day. She's like, Mom, can I have ramen? I'm like, it's not good for you, but like, yes, I guess you can have it. Like, sure. And she is like yarding this freaking Ichiban into her face. Like it is like a gourmet meal. And I'm just like, it's really gonna get old fast, kid. But all right, you enjoy your
Yeah.
ramen. But I'm with you because on night shift, because I think it's because it's warm, right? So it's like it's almost like you're having real food, like a real meal because it's warm and it has like that soup and it has the saltiness to it that like, when you're really running low and your electrolytes are and you've sweated your ass off for forever, it's like a really good kind of replenishment. But the other side of it is like, don't eat it every day. It's like 1,000 milligrams of sodium.
Yeah.
Like you're going to give yourself a fucking heart attack. Yes. Okay. All right. I like that one. That is a good one. Okay. Second question would be, and again, this is an awesome one, I think, because you guys do get access to so many cool things. What would be your favorite piece of equipment that you get to use or you get to play with or you get to train with?
I mean, for me, I personally love vehicle extrication. That's by far my favorite thing. And I would say that goes for a lot of people. But once you start chopping cars apart with one tool that can just rip it apart to shreds, or it can spread it and cut it and just mangle it in any way. I mean, you make a new door, you make a new entry, you just rip shit apart whenever you feel like it. Like, yeah, I would go to a combi tool any day.
So you're saying you like to like trash things. I like it. I
Yeah.
like it. I'm with you. I'm also, my husband calls me Ramrod because I am like, I'm the person that's like, oh, it doesn't fit. Let's just jam it in there. Like we'll just ram it in there and it'll fit then. And he's like, did you ram? Like he'll find something. He'll be like, did you ramrod this? And I'm like, no. And he's like, I know you did. And I'm like, okay, maybe I did. I was like, it it should have fit. I don't understand why it didn't fit. And he's like,
Yeah.
did you see this little flap that you needed to lift up? I'm like, oh no, I do not. Okay, and then what is the craziest scene you've been to, or the craziest like thing that's happened to you while you've been on a call?
Oh boy. It's one of those loaded questions that you try and reflect on every crazy thing that you've ever been to. We do so much stuff. We do so much stuff. And we see a lot of stuff, and you kind of expect all the craziness. But this is my personal funny story of like a oh fuck moment was we went from fires immediately to floods. I remember getting called in to come help out with sandbagging. My captain calls me and she goes, yeah, I need you to come in and I need you to go assess for sandbagging. And I said, what the fuck does that even mean? And she goes, I just need you to go to the house and figure out, like, do we have time to sandbag, get it set up? Like, what do we need? How many sandbags? Like, can you just go and do that? Like, I just need you to take a crew. And at the time we had Edmonton Fire here working with us. And she's like, take the 2 Edmonton crews. So I got like, I don't know, 13 Edmonton guys coming with me, plus a few of my own crew. And we're going down to this house to figure out sandbagging and like what we can do for flooding. And I'm like, yeah, sure, like no pressure. I have no idea what that means, but yeah, let's do it. Like, let's just go. So I'm literally driving to the call. I'm in the passenger seat and I'm Googling how to effectively sandbag a house. And
Yes.
like I'm like, we do a lot of stuff, but nobody has prepared us for
Yeah.
sandbagging. So yeah, that's I think one of the most wildest thing. I've never seen flooding before. I've never had major, like, we had our river came up over 30 feet. It
Holy smokes.
it was insane. And after just these homes that were just on evac for fire, not even a week later, and now being evac because they're prepping their house to get washed out. And so it was just like, what do you mean? What do you mean this is what we're doing now? So yeah, that I would say that was the craziest moment that I've experienced, is having to Google how to fucking do a job that I have no idea.
It's awesome. It's okay. So did you go to YouTube, or was there a Google? Was there like a blog article that was like, this is how you do it?
There's articles.
Not work related, but I was on a boat and we had decided to rent a wakeboard, and I'd never wakeboarded before. This was like last year. And so literally on the boat, like, again, let's think about the like generation that we're living in. I have my cell phone. I'm like, I'm sure there's a technique to this. I think I could do it, but I'm sure that there's probably like I could do it the hard way, or there can be an easy way. So I'm literally like with the YouTube going on my phone, how to wakeboard, watch 3 YouTube videos, and was like, I think I got this, and like jumped in the water, right? And my husband was like, I was with my best friend and her husband and my husband and my kids, and they're all looking at me like, Mom, and my kids were like, Mom, are you sure? I was like, I got this, you guys. I'll be totally fine. I watched the YouTube video. I am good. Oh my God, I was not good. I almost had my arms ripped out of my body. Like, it was so hard. And then like I tried to get up like 2 or 3 times. And then I was like, came back to the boat and I was like, okay, maybe I need to watch another video. And my friend was like, you're 42. Maybe you just need to not wakeboard. And I was like, no, I'm gonna do this. I'm doing it. Got back in the water. I eventually got up and I was like, okay, yeah, like the YouTube guy, he was right. Like, good thing for YouTube. Thank you. And then the next day I've never been that sore in my upper body. Like, I thought I was going to die. I couldn't lift my arms. I was like trying to drink a beer and I was like, can somebody just pour this into my mouth? So, I mean, yeah, but I'm glad Google came to your rescue. That's awesome. Well, it has been a treat talking to you today, Megan. I'm so glad we got a chance to connect and we were able to finally get this episode recorded, because it's been just awesome. I've learned a ton from you, just like a wealth of knowledge just in all the different things that you've kind of shared with us, and just other things like, I'm kind of percolating a lot of the stuff you're talking about for scene management and disaster management and stuff like that. So I'm very excited for you. Congratulations on your recent diploma. I know that can be tough, going to school while also working and also having, basically half-time, part-time, almost full-time other gigs. So good for you. Well done. And yeah, any lasting words or anything else you want to share with our listeners before we sign off for the day?
Yeah, sure. I think the biggest thing for me is take care of your mental health. I know everyone says it and everyone's big thing, but if you're gonna not even be in the first responder world. I think the biggest and best thing you can ever do is take care of your mental health. And I don't think enough people recognize the importance of that. So that's my big message, my spiel. Take care of your mental health. Go talk to somebody if you need to. There's so many resources, and if you're going to get into the first responder side, you need to have more resilience on that side. It just kind of comes with it. There's not going to be you're doing abnormal jobs with abnormal situations. So there's nothing normal that you're going to be doing. You need to figure out how to make it a bit more normal for yourself so that you can keep doing the job and keep living your life and keep enjoying everything else that comes along with it. Especially, you need to be able to go home at night and enjoy everything else and not take the job with you. So yeah, mental health, that's my spiel.
Yes, I love it. And I'm glad that you say like everybody says it, but like everybody says it because it's that fucking important. Like everybody says it,
Absolutely.
and especially everybody that's in this world says it because it's that fucking important. If you do not take care of your mental health, you will end up broken, you will end up burnt, you will end up just bitter and hating everything, and that's not the way to live, right? That's that
Yeah.
we get one life, and we want to live it, and we want it to be good, and we want it to be healthy, and we want to enjoy it. And if we don't take care of our mental health, that's the quickest way to lead a shitty life with no
Yeah.
passion and no purpose. So yeah,
That's
I love it.
yeah. We do this job to help people, not to take away from ourselves. That's
Yes. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely, girl. Okay, well, on that mic drop note, I love it. Thank you so much for joining me today. It's been a slice.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I appreciate it. It's been a blast.
Well, that's it for today, folks. Thanks so much for tuning in, listening, giving me your time, your energy, and your attention. I completely appreciate it. Make sure you check out our next episode with another badass female first responder anywhere you get your favorite podcasts. And follow us on Instagram and Facebook at bluelinefitnesstesting.com. I hope you stay safe, keep your head on a swivel, and watch your six.